Rage Church is supposed to be a sanctuary, but yesterday morning protesters turned a morning service into a battleground.
It's Sunday morning. Father Rod Bauer is addressing his congregation at the Gosford Anglican Church.
My mother-in-law is the best mother-in-law in the world, and I say that because sometimes she's sitting in the congregation.
Meanwhile, a group of far-right protesters are preparing to desecrate this sacred space with their sick parody of Islam. They set up prayer mats and blasted a muezzin's call over a megaphone.
This is cultural diversity, the rich tapestry of Islam.
For 3 minutes, they subject worshippers to a barrage of slurs and vitriol.
This is the future. Islam is here to take over.
The problem is only 3 weeks after a priest was murdered in an ISIL-inspired attack on a church in France.
It was a violation of our sacred space. You don't have to be violent to harm people, and our congregation were quite traumatised.
And having successfully intimidated the congregation, they head to the pub. A group of ultra-nationalists protesting Islam at an Anglican church.
We oppose, his sort of message sort of thing, and I think it's a real concern when we've got Christians that are barracking for Islam and saying that we should accept more Muslim immigration. I strongly believe that all culture is not equal. We've got to promote our dominant culture.
Most Australians are very decent people and accepting of multiculturalism. However, since the bringing in of Pauline Hanson into the Australian Parliament, we certainly have seen an increase of intimidation and racism. Australia needs a lot more ambassadors for peace and coexistence rather than ambassadors for hate and division.
Well, we're joined now by Father Rod Bauer of the Gosford Anglican Church and Nick Folkes of the Party for Freedom. Father Rod, we'll start with you. How did this incident make your parishioners feel yesterday?
Well, I realised what was happening, but a lot of the parishioners didn't, so they were quite concerned and quite traumatised by the event. And we had to spend a lot of time yesterday sort of pastorally caring for some of the people who were shocked by this incident.
Nick, what made you think it acceptable to dress up as a bunch of Muslims and invade someone's church on a Sunday morning? I mean, you would have realised you were going to scare a whole lot of people. That's just unacceptable behaviour, surely.
Well, I don't feel that we scared that many people, sort of thing. And
well, it doesn't
we
matter
sort of
what you think, it matters what the parishioners think.
Hang on, you just asked me a question, can I finish?
Well,
we went in there for a protest. We were we didn't enter, disturb anybody in the way, in the confrontational manner.
You were dressed up as Muslims, mate. How can that be sensible?
Muslims
and you had
wear
a
Western
megaphone
clothing.
and you were shouting at people.
But the megaphone was turned down, and we made sure we had people in the congregation that we didn't interrupt communion. I'd like to know, why is he promoting a religion that is completely intolerant?
Rod, do you want to respond to Nick?
Well, first I'd like to say I'm not submitting to nor promoting Islam. I promote Christianity. But I also believe we live in a secular democracy and we live in a multicultural society. We have two choices. We can live in a productive multicultural society or we can live in a dysfunctional one. Now, I choose to live in a productive, functional one and build bridges rather than walls, and that's what I do.
Nick, you're a vocal supporter of Pauline Hanson, who has, even she has distanced herself from your latest stunt, saying you've gone too far. Surely that tells you something.
No, not at all. We're not associated with Pauline. I support Pauline and I support any patriotic person or, group out there, sort of thing. And, those billboards like bless the burqa and we're shifting more sort of Muslim refugees, I find that offensive.
So you find what offensive? The idea that we would accept refugees who happen to be Muslim, Nick? Is that
absolutely, Waleed. I think that, Australia's been very generous over the years and, it's time to say no. We've got to concentrate on issues within Australia. Charity begins at home. Looking at some of the problems in Australia and sort of prioritising what we need to do.
So you're saying it'd be a real problem if a Muslim ever, for example, hosted a TV show. But anyway, Rod,
yes.
You've been quite outspoken on social issues in the past. Does this kind of protest, does it have any prospect in the way you go about things or what your views are going to be?
Well, I think, Waleed, that it proves that we need to ourselves to promoting harmonious multicultural society. I mean, We have an Australian culture that is built on 50,000 years of human habitation, and before European settlement, of course, there was an incredible diversity, over 800 languages, hundreds and hundreds of nations finding ways to live together in peace and harmony, and that's the foundation on which we need to build modern Australia. And so we know that
is not harmonious.
Cultural diversity.
It's not. It's
we know
that
cultural diversity is an incredibly important thing for a healthy society. We can't change that. We are already a multicultural society. The only choice we have is whether we are
I'm talking about government funding, Rod.
Whether we are a functional or a dysfunctional one.
Can we just
We're dysfunctional. We're a dysfunctional society now. We're divided.
There's certainly something dysfunctional going on, that's for sure.
Yes.
Nick, thank you very much for your time.
And your behaviour adds to that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rod.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thanks very much, guys. Before I let you go, Nick, may I compliment you on your quite Islamic-looking beard? That's quite remarkable.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it, Willie. Thank you.
Wonderful. Rod, Nick, thank you very much for your time.
You're more than welcome. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Dave.